Well, here we have something rather different from Lane's Explorer. You've got a fairly familiar ride which you can watch, but I'm going to tell you a little story entitled Into the Land of the Dragons. Now we'll skip my early motorcycling interests from the age of 8, because that's really rather boring. Reading it here again. I thought, no, right, we'll get straight on with the main thrust of this little story, and it's all about Diane and myself. Diane, yes, she was the older woman. I first met her when I sold my mobilette moped to a Mr. Nobbs of Fratton for £10, and with that money I bought myself an Aerial Colt 200cc motorcycle. And my parents said, oh God blimey, he'll kill himself. We're sending him on the RICACU training scheme. That was run by a motorcycle club, Waterloo Villa District Motorcycle Club. And every Sunday morning, for a couple of hours, you learnt how to ride a motorcycle and how to maintain it. And it was absolutely brilliant. Now, bearing in mind, I'd been interested in motorcycles, obsessed. I felt I knew an awful lot about motorcycles, but of course that was all not practical whatsoever. As my father would say, he's old Theory Joe. He knows nothing. Well, by then, of course, I was a teenager, so I knew everything, didn't I? So yes, I met Diane when I'd passed the RECAC training scheme and taken my government test, and the members of the club were getting a bit old by then, so they thought it'd be quite nice to try and get some younger volunteers. And they asked me if I would come along and do a bit of volunteering on a Sunday morning. So I thought, oh yeah, that'd be quite interesting. And that's where I met Diane. Now Diane was 27, I was 19 at that point. And I think we hit it off straight away, actually. Yeah, she was lovely, blonde, female, yes. Ticked all the right boxes for me. And she had a Honda 90. Now she needed to learn to ride that Honda 90 to get 10 miles from Portsmouth to Horndean, which is where she was a primary school teacher. And we enjoyed one another's company, and she had a flat in Kingston Crescent in Portsmouth, and I used to pop in there from time to time. We chatted and things like that. And then one day she said to me, have you ever thought about riding to the Dragon Rally? Now, I had heard of the Dragon Rally, but wasn't terribly familiar. I knew it happened in March, and then she said, well, I'd like to go, but I don't really have the right machine to go with. I've got my Honda 90 that wouldn't really be suitable. So would you take me? Well, how could I refuse, honestly? Now, my friends thought I was completely balmy. He's met this girl and he's head over heels. But it wasn't actually like that. By then I was beginning to think that the sort of motorcycling they were doing, which was going out what Malcolm used to call for a thrash on a Sunday morning, it just wasn't me. I wanted to go further and explore. Yes, I've always been exploring. So when she suggested we go to North Wales, I thought, never been to North Wales, that might be quite nice. Nice run up and back, and a lovely blonde pillion. Every young male motorcyclist dream. Well, not every young male motorcyclist dream, but certainly mine. So yes, we planned our route. I had this Norton Model 50, 350cc single, 1957 model, which I bought for around about £25, and changed the chains on it, and that meant it was quite reliable. Didn't let me down for about the sort of 6 months I was riding. It did actually burn an awful lot of oil. I was putting about a pint of oil in every 100 miles, so it was a bit worn out. But anyway, she said, Dad's got an old tent we can take. So I thought, that's good, I don't have to buy that. And I had a couple of sleeping bags from my cadet days, and she had a couple of sleeping bags. And I managed to borrow from a motorcycling friend a Craven half. It was a half square thing, so it had a curved part to it. It's a metal pannier, just the one, a bit lopsided. And to fit it, I had to, oh, this is awful, I had to beat a dent in the top of the silencer, which didn't improve the looks of the Norton at all. However, I also went to, it was called Jenkin and Purser's. It was in Cotton Road in Portsmouth. That was a motorcycle dealer, Triumph BSA. And I thought, I had no idea about these sort of things. I thought, I need a cooker, don't I? We need to cook breakfast, or at least heat up some drink or something. Anyway, when I inquired, it was going to cost me more. This blinking cooker was going to cost me more than the motorcycle did. So I thought, oh no, that's ridiculous. Can't do that. So we decided against that. I did look at my dad's old 1946 road atlas, planned a route, which I stuck to the petrol tank, as you did in those days. And on a Friday evening in March, I rode to, I'd finished work in my apprenticeship, and I rode to Diane's school and picked her up, and she hopped on the back. And it was a lovely evening. The sun was shining and it all seemed fine. Off we went. Now, after about, 2 hours, the rain started. And did we have wet weather gear? Well, I had a leather sheepskin jacket, and jeans, and shoes. I didn't even have boots, and I don't think I even had gloves. This sounds awful nowadays, but anyway, that's what we did. And she had leather jeans, or leather trousers they weren't jeans exactly, and I think she must have had a leather jacket from memory. Memory plays tricks now, doesn't it, as we get older. But I wasn't really too interested in what she was wearing. But she was sitting on the back, I couldn't see. So off we went anyway, and 2 hours on, and it was raining. And it was getting dark too, and motorcycle 6-volt lighting is absolutely useless. How we ever managed in those days? Street lights were non-existent, it was raining. What have we let ourselves in for? I thought, I wonder if Diane thought that, I don't know. She did whisper occasionally in my ear, sort of squeeze in, squeeze out, things like that, when we were sort of threading through some traffic. I remember her saying that. I wasn't quite sure what she meant. Anyway, passing on from that, as we approached Shrewsbury, it was pitch black by then, and there was no ring road round Shrewsbury in those days. And as we approached it, the outskirts, there were a group of motorcyclists, and they waved us down. And they said, "Oh, we're the pilots. We're the Dragon Rally pilots. We're going to take you through Shrewsbury because you'll get lost." I thought, wow, this is amazing. Roads are streaming wet. Anyway, one of them said, "Come on, follow me." So off he goes. And of course he knew it. He knew where he was going. We didn't. So I couldn't actually keep up with him. You'll not be surprised at that, will you? No, I couldn't keep up with him. But he decided that he looked behind him. We didn't have mirrors in those days. He looked behind and realised we weren't there. He came back for us, and gradually we threaded our way through Shrewsbury, out the other side, and on our way again. Now, we're only in mid-Wales by now, so we've got a long way to go. North Wales is a bit further on. And as we approach North Wales, we meet another group of motorcyclists, one with a motorcycle sidecar. And they're all lost. We're all lost by now because we had no idea where this blinking rally site is. Although we had some directions of how to find it, Llanberis was where it is actually based. And in those days, you didn't get sort of advance warning and things like this. You just sent off a little letter, and you got a letter back and told you where it was. So yes, off we go. We're riding around and around, and we don't have any idea where we're going. It's pitch black. The chap in the motorcycle side, he rams the sidecar into an earth bank. I thought, oh, this is wonderful, this is. So anyway, we all pull it back in again. No damage, fortunately, to anybody in the sidecar. But the sidecar's a bit dented. Well, eventually, it must have been 1:30, 2 in the morning, we actually found the campsite. It was an old army camp in Llanberis. And, well, we're just so hungry and tired by then. We just got the tent off the bike. How we did this, I don't know. We obviously, being younger, we can do it, but nowadays I wouldn't be able to do it now. So yes, we got the tent off the bike, propped the bike up, and I always had a tendency to fall over that bike if it was on soggy ground, and of course it was on soggy ground. So I actually managed to find a bit of slate to put the prop stand on. Stuck it on the bit of slate, and we got the tent up, and we got the sleeping bags in, ground sheet down. After we got the sleeping bags after the ground sheet went down, of course, and climbed in absolutely exhausted and must have gone straight off to sleep. Come the Saturday morning, it was still raining. We were hungry. We were hungry. Breakfast, well, we didn't have anything with us, but we did discover there were some burger vans and a place selling coffee. And it was freezing cold. We were perishing cold. We didn't have gloves. And so Diane said to me, we're going to have to hold hands, but don't read anything into that. So, well, it seemed like a jolly good idea to me. So yes, we held hands, and surprisingly enough, it did work. We did actually warm up. So we wandered around. And what do you actually do at these rallies? Well, not a lot, it seems to me. We wandered around looking at these whole blinking British bikes that look in a terrible, sorry state. And I think there was a band in one of the huts. There was a bit of music, which cheered us up a bit, sort of 60s sort of pop music. So we went in there, mainly because it was warm, I think. So we. But what we did, we must have had more burgers and buns for lunch. Our memory is a bit hazy about the actual what we did thing. So, come the evening, well, we went back to the tent and we realised water was pouring across the ground sheet because it was all on a slope. There was precious little flat ground in Llanberis, so water was pouring across the ground sheet. So we decided to dig a ditch all the way around the tent to channel water away, so it wouldn't actually go into the ditch and away. So that's what we did, and climb into our sleeping bags. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I got a shake. Peter, are you awake? I thought, well, yeah, I'm awake. Are you dry? I said, yeah, nice and dry. Oh, my sleeping bag's absolutely sodden. Water had come in her side and made her sleeping bag very wet. Can I come in with you? No funny business though. Oh, no. Well, perfect gentleman as I was. Of course you can come in. So yes, she got in with. It was a very tight squeeze, I have to say. Mind you, we were quite small. Thin. I was thin, and she's only small. So yes, she clambered in, and it was very nice actually, I have to say. You might imagine. Yeah, nice to cuddle up. Yeah, so we warmed up a bit, and but not much sleep was got, I don't think. And come the Sunday morning, wow, what a sorry state it was outside. It was absolute mayhem because it had rained all through that night. There were blokes kicking over motorcycles that wouldn't start and swearing. The loads of tents had actually collapsed. Our tent was still fine. It had sagged a little bit in the middle, but apart from that, it was okay. But yes, these other poor chaps, they were stranded because they just couldn't get the things to start. I thought, wow, will the Norton start? Well, first kick, yeah, swung it over, boom, it was away. Loaded up the bits and pieces, climbed aboard, and away we went. And on our way back, we stopped off at a cafe on the way back towards Shrewsbury, and there were a load of motorcyclists there, and they'd all had to spend the night there because the roads had got flooded and they couldn't go forwards or back, so they just had to spend the night in the cafe. Well, actually, I think perhaps they had the best end of the deal, nice and dry. What were they concerned about? They didn't get their little enamel badges or their red neckerchief, though, did they? Now, I've still got my enamel badge, and there weren't many of them given out, as you imagine. Not many people actually arrived. But yes, I've still got my enamel badge, but the red neckerchief that disintegrated on the way back home. It was shoddy material. Anyway, yeah, so we had a little chat, and somebody actually offered me an engine for my Model 50. I said, well, I'm not actually keeping this bike, I'm getting rid of it when I get back. I didn't, in fact. But yeah, so that was nice. Yes, I'm not quite sure how I'll get the engine home, but still, it was very generous of him. So we arrived. There was nothing actually wrong with the Norton apart from the clutch cable had begun to seize because of all the wet, and it was very hard to change gear. And I was actually changing gear without a clutch for some of the way. And as we approached Portsmouth, Diane lived on a just down the road from a corner, and that corner was cobbled, and of course it was all wet cobbles. And as I was coming towards this bend, I knew the bend was there, I knew it was cobbles. I changed down, managed to get down to second, but I thought, well, that'd be okay. Well, of course it wasn't, was it? It was a bit too fast. And we slid off gracefully on the wet cobbles. Yes, we travelled, 600 miles? And slid off 20 yards from her flat. Fortunately, without any damage to either of us, the footrest broke off on the Norton. But apart from that, I was able to ride it home. So, I rode home. And when I got home, I looked in the mirror. It was the first time I actually looked in the mirror. I was absolutely black. The road grime, it was dreadful. I can't begin to tell how long it took me to wash all that lot off. We'd soak it in the bath. Oh, that was lovely, that bath. Absolutely delightful. So that is the story of the Dragon Rally 1968 with Diane. Now, you would think we'd never do this ever again, wouldn't you? But actually, Diane joined a group called the Women's International Motorcyclists Association, and they were going to hold a rally in North Wales, but in June. And I thought, and she said, would I like to go? By then, she had a Honda 250, a CB72, with a fairing, very nice. And she wanted to ride there, but she also wanted a companion, and I was that companion. And we rode up there, same tent. And we rode up there. It was lovely, actually. It was Betsy Cuid. I can't pronounce that easily, but anyway, that's where it was held. And it was sunshine all the way there, all the way back, and all the time we were there. And my knowledge of motorcycling, my anorak knowledge, paid off in spades because we absolutely cleaned up the quizzes, much to the annoyance of the other rallyists. Because, Diane, I won her a bag, a patchwork leather bag, which was rather nice. I got a Thunderbird's tie, a Triumph type tie, playing cards, BSA playing cards, I remember. Oh, all sorts of bits and pieces. By the time we'd done a few, I said, no, it's not good. We can't keep taking all this stuff. We went to the rest of the quiz. So we did actually let some of the others have a go as well, but I felt a bit awful about that, really. But I was young and insensitive. Now I'm old and insensitive. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little sort of tale. Actually, Diane was a lovely person, and I often wonder what happened to her. She's always said that she would continue motorcycling all the way, so I hope she did. So thank you very much for listening to this, and hope it wasn't too boring for you. I'll see you again soon, I hope. I'll leave you with the sights of Nether Kellet, which we're just coming into now. These roads were all a bit wet, weren't they? Looking at this now. So quite appropriate, really. In fact, as I'm doing this, it's raining outside. Not much has changed then.